Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with another deep dive into the absolute chaos that is relationship drama on Reddit. Before I dive into these stories, I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who commented on the last video. It really means a lot and keeps me motivated to keep making more content. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's jump into some relationship Reddit stories that are absolutely crazy. Trust me, you're going to want to hear every single word of these. Posted in relationship advice. My boyfriend of 2 years just told me he's been pretending to be allergic to my cat this entire time. So this is going to sound completely insane, but I need some perspective because I honestly don't know how to process what just happened. My boyfriend Marcus and I have been together for 2 years. We've been talking about moving in together, and I was honestly thinking this might be the guy I marry. Here's the thing though, I have a cat named Muffin. She's a 7-year-old tabby, and she's basically my entire world. I rescued her when she was just a kitten, and she's gotten me through some really tough times. When Marcus and I first started dating, he told me he was allergic to cats. Not severely, but enough that he'd get sniffly, and his eyes would water if he spent too much time around her. I felt terrible about it, but I figured we'd work something out. Maybe he could take allergy medication, or we'd have to find creative ways to spend time together. I even looked into those expensive air purifiers and special vacuum cleaners that are supposed to help with pet dander. Marcus was always really sweet about it, saying he didn't want me to get rid of Muffin and that we'd figure it out together. Over the past 2 years, our relationship has been amazing, except for this one issue. Marcus could only come over for short periods, and he'd always have to leave before his allergies got too bad. We'd mostly hang out at his place, which honestly was fine with me, because his apartment is way nicer than mine. But it did mean that Muffin and I spent a lot of evenings alone. A few months ago, we started seriously talking about moving in together. I brought up the cat situation, asking if he'd be willing to try stronger allergy medications, or if we should look for a place with really good air filtration. Marcus got kind of weird about it, saying we'd cross that bridge when we came to it. Last weekend, we were at his friend Jake's birthday party. I was in the kitchen helping Jake's girlfriend set up the cake when I heard Marcus laughing really loudly from the living room. I walked over to see what was so funny, and I found Marcus on the couch with Jake's cat, Mr. Whiskers, literally sitting on his lap. Marcus was petting him and baby talking to him, and there wasn't a sniffle or watery eye in sight. I stood there for a minute, completely confused. Then I asked Marcus what was going on with his allergies. The entire room went quiet. Marcus looked like he'd seen a ghost. Jake started laughing and said something like, "What allergies? Marcus loves cats. He's always trying to steal Mr. Whiskers when he comes over." Marcus quickly tried to cover, saying his allergies must be better that day, or that maybe he'd built up a tolerance, but I could see it in his face. He was lying, and he knew that I knew he was lying. We left the party early, and the car ride home was completely silent. When we got to my apartment, I finally confronted him. I asked him directly if he was actually allergic to cats, or if he'd been lying to me this entire time. He broke down and admitted everything. He's not allergic to cats at all. He never has been. He just doesn't like them, and he didn't want to deal with having a cat if we moved in together. He thought if he pretended to be allergic, I'd eventually decide to rehome Muffin on my own, so he wouldn't have to be the bad guy who made me choose between him and my cat. I was completely stunned. For 2 years, this man has been lying to my face every single day. He's been pretending to have physical symptoms, leaving my apartment early, making me feel guilty for having a pet. He's been manipulating me into thinking I was causing him actual physical discomfort. But here's the part that really gets me. When I asked him what his plan was for when we moved in together, he said he figured I'd realised that living together was more important than keeping a cat, and I'd find Muffin a new home. He actually thought I'd give up my cat for him, and he was willing to keep lying indefinitely to make that happen. I told him to leave, and I haven't spoken to him since. He's been texting me non-stop, saying he's sorry and that he only lied because he loves me and wanted us to work out. He says he's willing to live with Muffin now, but I honestly don't know if I can trust anything he says anymore. My friends are split. Some of them think I should forgive him because his heart was in the right place, and he was just scared of losing me. Others think the lying is unforgivable, and that he showed his true colours by trying to manipulate me into getting rid of my pet. I'm completely lost. 2 years of my life have been built on this lie. How many other things has he been dishonest about? And how do I trust someone who is willing to fake a medical condition just to avoid an uncomfortable conversation? Am I overreacting, or is this as messed up as it feels? That story just ended. This guy spent 2 years faking allergies, watching his girlfriend feel guilty about her cat, and planning to manipulate her into rehoming her pet. The audacity is absolutely staggering. This isn't just lying about liking her favourite movie or pretending to enjoy her cooking. This is a straight-up long-term deception that could have resulted in her losing a beloved pet. Let's move on to our next story, because apparently the internet has even more relationship chaos to offer. Posted in true off my chest, I found out my husband has been secretly learning sign language for 3 years, and the reason why is breaking my heart. I don't even know where to start with this, but I need to get it off my chest because I've been crying for 3 days straight and I feel like I'm going crazy. My husband David and I have been married for 8 years. We have a 6-year-old daughter named Emma, who was born deaf. When we first found out about Emma's deafness, it was overwhelming. We didn't know any sign language, we didn't know what resources were available, and honestly, we were scared about how to give her the best life possible. We immediately started learning ASL as a family. I threw myself into it completely, taking classes, watching videos, practicing constantly. David seemed to struggle more with it. He tried during our family practice sessions, but he was always slower to pick up new signs, and he'd get frustrated easily. After about a year, he kind of gave up on formal learning and said he'd just pick it up naturally from Emma and me. I was disappointed, but I understood that not everyone learns languages the same way. David is amazing with Emma in every other way. He's patient, loving, and creative in how he communicates with her. They have their own system of gestures and expressions that works for them. Emma adores her daddy, and I could see that their bond was strong even without fluent sign language. Over the years, David's signing did improve, but very slowly. He could handle basic conversations with Emma, but anything complex would require me to translate. I became the primary communicator for our family when it came to Emma's medical appointments, school meetings, and social interactions. It was exhausting sometimes, but I accepted it as just how our family worked. Emma is now in 1st grade at a school for deaf children, and she's absolutely thriving. Her vocabulary is expanding rapidly, and she's become quite the little chatterbox in ASL. Lately, she's been getting frustrated with David because she wants to tell him complex stories about her day, her friends, her dreams, and she feels limited by his basic signing skills. A few weeks ago, Emma came to me crying because she felt like Daddy didn't want to talk to her about important things. She said she had tried to tell him about a problem she was having with a friend at school, but he couldn't understand her, and she felt like he wasn't interested in her life. It broke my heart. I decided to talk to David about maybe taking a refresher course or getting some tutoring to improve his ASL. I approached it gently, explaining how Emma was feeling and suggesting that we could learn together to make it fun. David got defensive and said he was doing his best, that not everyone could be as naturally talented at languages as I was. We had a bit of an argument about it, which was unusual for us. David accused me of making him feel inadequate as a father, and I accused him of not prioritising Emma's communication needs. We both said things we regretted, and David ended up sleeping in the guest room that night. The next morning, David apologised and said he'd think about getting additional help with his signing. He seemed genuinely remorseful about the argument, and I thought we'd work things out. Then, 3 days ago, something happened that turned my entire world upside down. Emma had a school performance where all the kids were signing songs and poems. David and I were sitting in the audience, watching our daughter perform beautifully on stage. During one of the songs, the little boy next to Emma forgot part of the signs, and Emma quickly helped him by discreetly showing him the correct signs. I leaned over to David to whisper about how sweet and helpful Emma was being, but when I looked at him, he was crying. Not just tearing up, but actually crying. I asked him what was wrong, and he just shook his head and said he'd tell me later. After the performance, we went out for ice cream to celebrate Emma. She was so excited, signing rapidly about her favourite parts of the show, telling us about her friends, asking if we were proud of her. David was responding to her in sign language, and I noticed he seemed to be keeping up with her much better than usual, but I figured he was just really focused. That night, after Emma went to bed, David asked me to sit down because he had something important to tell me. He looked terrified, and I honestly thought he was going to tell me he wanted a divorce or that he was sick or something awful. Instead, he told me that for the past 3 years, he's been secretly taking advanced ASL classes twice a week. Not only that, but he's also been working with a private tutor once a week, and he's been practicing for hours every day at work during his lunch breaks. He's been using online resources, watching deaf vlogs, and even attending deaf community events in the evenings when he told me he was working late. I was completely stunned. I asked him why he would keep this a secret, especially when he knew how important communication with Emma was to our family. His answer completely broke my heart. He said that when Emma was first diagnosed, he felt like a failure as a father because sign language didn't come naturally to him like it did to me. He watched me excel at ASL while he struggled, and he felt like Emma was going to love me more because I could communicate with her better. He was embarrassed and ashamed of his learning difficulties, so he decided to secretly get intensive help. But then he said something that made me understand the real reason for the secrecy. He wanted to surprise Emma on her 7th birthday next month by being able to have a completely fluent conversation with her. He's been planning this elaborate surprise where he'd finally be able to understand and respond to all her complex thoughts and stories. He showed me videos on his phone of himself practicing signing, hours and hours of footage of him working with his tutor, attending conversation groups, practicing speeches he wanted to give to Emma. In the most recent videos, his signing is absolutely beautiful. He's fluent, expressive, and natural. He's better at ASL now than I am. I realised that all those times I thought he was being lazy or uninterested, he was actually working harder than I could have ever imagined. All those late nights at work, all those lunch breaks he spent alone, all those times he seemed distant or distracted, he was thinking about our daughter and working to be a better father for her. The reason he was crying at the performance was because he could understand every single word Emma was signing, and for the first time, he was experiencing her full personality, her humour, her intelligence, her wit, without needing me to translate. He was seeing his daughter the way I get to see her every day, and it was overwhelming. I've been crying ever since he told me. I feel terrible for doubting him, for thinking he didn't care enough to put in the effort. I feel guilty for not recognising how hard he was working and how much pressure he was putting on himself. But mostly, I'm just overwhelmed by how much this man loves our daughter. Emma's birthday is in 2 weeks, and David is planning to surprise her by signing a poem he wrote for her, followed by asking her to tell him all the stories she's been saving up to share with him. He's nervous that she might be upset that he kept it a secret, but I think she's going to be over the moon. I haven't told Emma anything, obviously, but I've been watching David interact with her differently since I found out. He's more confident, more engaged, and I can see him holding back from responding to things she says, because he doesn't want to blow his surprise. I love my husband more than ever, but I also feel like I've been living with a stranger for 3 years. He's been carrying this huge secret, working incredibly hard, and planning this amazing surprise, all while I thought he was being a subpar communicator with our daughter. I don't know how to process all these emotions. I'm proud guilty, amazed, and heartbroken all at the same time. And that's the end of that story. I'm not going to lie. This is the complete opposite of the manipulation we saw in the first story. Here's a father who was so devoted to connecting with his daughter that he spent 3 years secretly becoming fluent in sign language just to surprise her. The level of dedication and love is absolutely incredible. Posted in relationship advice. My girlfriend keeps testing our relationship in increasingly bizarre ways, and I don't know how much more I can take. I've been with my girlfriend Sarah for about 10 months now, and overall, things have been really great. She's funny, smart, beautiful, and we have amazing chemistry. But there's this one thing she does that's starting to drive me absolutely insane. And I don't know if I'm overreacting or if this is as problematic as it feels. Sarah has this thing where she likes to test our relationship. At first it seemed kind of cute and harmless. Like, early in our relationship, she'd do little things to see how I'd react. She'd pretend to be really interested in some guy at a party to see if I'd get jealous. Or she'd act like she was mad about something to see if I'd try to make it up to her. I thought it was just her way of figuring out how much I cared about her. And honestly, some of the tests were kind of endearing. Like when she pretended to hate my favourite movie, just to see if I'd try to convince her to give it another chance. Or when she acted like she didn't want me to meet her parents to see if I'd persist because meeting them was important to me. But over the past few months, these tests have gotten more and more elaborate, and frankly bizarre, and they're starting to feel less like playful relationship exploration and more like psychological manipulation. Here are some examples of recent tests. Last month, Sarah told me she was going on a girls' trip to Miami for a weekend. She showed me photos of the hotel, talked about which friends were going, and even asked me to drive her to the airport. The whole time, I was supportive and told her to have fun. Turns out, there was no trip. She spent the weekend at her sister's house across town, posting fake Instagram stories with photos she'd found online to make it look like she was in Miami. She said she wanted to see if I'd try to control her or get suspicious about her travelling without me. 2 weeks ago, Sarah told me her ex-boyfriend had reached out to her and wanted to meet for coffee to get closure. She said she was thinking about going and wanted to know how I felt about it. I told her I trusted her judgment, but that it would make me a little uncomfortable. She kept pushing, asking if I'd be okay with it, if I trusted her, whether I thought she still had feelings for him. I kept saying I trusted her, but would prefer if she didn't go. Eventually, she said she decided not to meet with him. Later, I found out she made up the entire story. There was no ex trying to meet with her. She just wanted to see how I'd handle potential jealousy. But the most recent test was the one that really got to me. Last week, Sarah told me she'd been offered a job in Seattle that would double her salary. She said it was an amazing opportunity, but it would mean we'd have to do long distance for at least a year, maybe longer. She spent 3 days talking about this job, asking for my advice, discussing the pros and cons of taking it. I was supportive but honest about how hard long distance would be. I helped her make lists of questions to ask HR, looked up cost of living information for Seattle, and even researched how we could make long distance work. Then she told me it was all fake. There was no job offer. She wanted to see if I'd try to sabotage her career opportunities or if I'd be supportive of her success, even if it meant sacrifice for our relationship. When I passed her test by being supportive, she seemed happy, but I felt completely manipulated and emotionally drained. When I confronted her about these tests, Sarah said she does them because she's been hurt in past relationships and needs to know that I'm trustworthy and genuinely care about her. She says it's her way of making sure we're compatible and that I'm not just pretending to be a good boyfriend until I get comfortable and show my true colours. I understand having trust issues and I want to be patient with her healing process. But these tests are exhausting me. I feel like I'm constantly being evaluated instead of just being in a relationship. I'm starting to second guess every conversation we have, wondering if she's being genuine or if it's another test. The worst part is that I never know when I'm being tested. so I can't even relax and be myself. I feel like I have to be on all the time, giving the right answers and having the right reactions. It's like being in a job interview that never ends. I tried to talk to Sarah about how these tests make me feel, but she got defensive and said that if I really loved her, I wouldn't mind proving it. She said that relationships require work and that she needs reassurance because of her past trauma. I do love her, and I want to support her through her trust issues, but I don't know if this is healthy for either of us. I'm worried that even if I pass every test, she'll just come up with new ones, and I'm starting to feel resentful, which is making me question whether I'm actually as good of a boyfriend as I thought I was. My friends think I should run, but they don't see the amazing parts of our relationship. When Sarah isn't testing me, we're incredible together. She's loving, supportive, and makes me laugh every day. I don't want to give up on us, but I also don't know how to convince her that constant testing isn't the foundation for a healthy relationship. Am I being too sensitive about this? Is this just what relationships look like when someone has trust issues? Or is this crossing a line into manipulation territory? How do I help Sarah feel secure in our relationship without enabling behaviour that's making me feel insecure in our relationship? That story just wrapped up, and wow, that is a masterclass in how trust issues can actually destroy trust. This girl is so afraid of being hurt that she's actively sabotaging her own relationship by creating elaborate fake scenarios to test her boyfriend. Next story. Posted in Relationship Advice. I've been married for 12 years and just discovered my wife has been running a secret Instagram account where she pretends to be single. I honestly don't even know how to begin processing this, but I need outside perspective because I feel like I'm losing my mind. My wife Jessica and I have been married for 12 years, together for 15 total. We have 2 kids, ages 9 and 7. I thought we had a solid marriage. Sure, we've had our ups and downs like any couple, but nothing that felt catastrophic. Jessica has always been pretty active on social media, which never bothered me. She posts pictures of our family, our vacations, everyday life stuff. She's got her main Instagram account that I follow, and it's exactly what you'd expect from a married mum in her 30s. Pictures of the kids at soccer practice, date nights with me, family barbecues, that kind of thing. About 2 months ago, I was helping our 9-year-old son with a school project that required him to research different careers. He wanted to learn about photography because he thought it looked cool. I was showing him how to search for photographers on Instagram to see examples of their work when something weird happened. I typed in Jessica's name to show him Mum's account as an example of someone who takes nice photos, even if it's not professional. But when I typed Jessica Martinez into the search bar, 2 accounts came up. One was her regular account that I knew about. The other one had a slightly different username but was definitely her in the profile picture. I clicked on the second account, thinking maybe it was an old account she forgot about or maybe someone using her photos. But when I scrolled through it, I realised it was definitely Jessica running this account. The photos were taken in our house, wearing clothes I recognised, in locations we'd been to together. But here's the thing that made my stomach drop. There was absolutely no mention of being married or having kids anywhere on this account. The bio said she was a free spirit and living her best single life. There were photos of her at restaurants I'd never been to, bars I didn't recognise, events I'd never heard her mention, photos of her getting her nails done, at the gym, out with friends I didn't know she had, and in every single photo she looked like a completely different person. More glamorous, more confident, more carefree. I started scrolling back through months of posts, and it was like looking at a parallel universe version of my wife's life. There were photos of her at what looked like dates with different men. Not anything obviously romantic, but definitely photos where she was dressed up and sitting across from guys at nice restaurants or at bars. The captions were things like, "Great conversation tonight," or "Love meeting new people," with heart emojis. There were photos from girls' nights out that I'd never heard about. Pictures of her at concerts, art galleries, wine tastings, all events that supposedly happened on nights when she told me she was working late, or hanging out with her sister, or just running errands. The comments section was what really sent me over the edge. Dozens of men commenting things like, "Looking gorgeous as always," and "When are we getting that drink?" She was responding to these comments flirtatiously, using little winky face emojis and saying things like, "Soon, handsome," or "You know how to reach me." I felt like I was going to throw up. I screenshotted everything I could before I lost my nerve. Then I closed the app and tried to pretend I'd never seen it, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night at dinner, I kept staring at Jessica, wondering who this person was that I'd been married to for over a decade. For the next week, I became obsessed with figuring out what was going on. I started paying closer attention to her schedule, her phone habits, her behaviour. I noticed that she was always very protective of her phone, keeping it face down and taking it with her even when she went to the bathroom. She'd been working late more frequently over the past year, and she'd started going out with friends more often than she used to. I also realised that she'd been putting a lot more effort into her appearance lately. New clothes, getting her hair done more often, spending more time at the gym. At the time, I thought it was great that she was taking care of herself and feeling confident. Now I was wondering if she was doing it for someone else. I decided I had to confront her, but I wanted to be smart about it. I didn't want to accuse her of cheating if there was some innocent explanation. Maybe it was some kind of elaborate joke or social experiment. Maybe she was planning to surprise me with something. I know it sounds naive, but I was desperate to find a reasonable explanation. Last Saturday night, Jessica said she was going out with her sister and would probably be home late. I waited until she left. Then I checked her secret Instagram account. Sure enough, about an hour later, she posted a photo of herself at a trendy cocktail bar downtown with the caption "Saturday Night Vibes." She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before and looked absolutely stunning. I decided to drive downtown and see if I could find her. I know how crazy that sounds, but I needed to know what was really going on. I found the bar from her photo and sat in my car across the street for about an hour. Eventually, I saw Jessica come out of the bar with a man I didn't recognise. They were laughing and standing very close to each other. He walked her to her car and they hugged goodbye. Not a quick, friendly hug, but a long, intimate hug that made my heart sink. I followed her home from a distance, and she got there about 20 minutes before I did. When I walked in, she was already in her pyjamas, hair in a messy bun, acting like she'd been home for hours. She asked me how my night was and told me about her quiet evening with her sister. I couldn't take it anymore. I asked her directly about the Instagram account. The look on her face was like I'd slapped her. She went completely pale, then immediately got defensive. She started asking how I found it, accusing me of spying on her, saying I was violating her privacy. When I pressed her about the men in the photos and the comments, she broke down crying and admitted that she'd been going on dates, but she swore that nothing physical had happened, that she'd never cheated on me. She said she just missed feeling desired and attractive, that being a wife and mother had made her feel invisible. She said the Instagram account started as a way to post photos where she felt pretty and confident without having to worry about mom-shaming or judgment from family. But then men started commenting and messaging her, and she liked the attention. She said it escalated into meeting some of them for drinks or dinner, but always in public places, and she never did anything beyond conversation. She kept saying it wasn't cheating because nothing physical happened, but I felt completely betrayed. She'd been living a double life, lying to me constantly and emotionally connecting with other men, while pretending to be single. She'd been getting dressed up for dates with strangers while I was home with our kids, thinking she was working late. The part that hurt the most was realising how elaborate the deception was. She'd been maintaining this fake persona for over a year, carefully curating this image of herself as a fun, available single woman. She'd been responding to flirty comments from men while sitting next to me on our couch. She'd been planning these secret meetups while helping our kids with homework. When I asked her what her endgame was, she said she didn't know. She said it started small and just kept growing, and she didn't know how to stop without destroying everything. She said she loved our family and didn't want to lose us, but she also felt trapped in a life that didn't feel like hers anymore. I told her I needed space to think, so I've been staying at my brother's house for the past week. Jessica has been texting constantly, begging me to come home and talk through this. She says she's deleted the account and wants to go to counselling together. She says she realises how badly she messed up and wants to fight for our marriage. But I don't know if I can trust her again. Every time she said she was working late or going out with friends, she was actually going on dates with other men. Every time she posted a normal family photo on her regular Instagram, she was also maintaining this secret account where she pretended I didn't exist. The level of deception is staggering. My kids keep asking when I'm coming home, and it's breaking my heart. They have no idea what's going on, and I don't know how to explain this to them if Jessica and I can't work things out. But I also don't know how to move forward with someone who is capable of lying so convincingly for so long. Is this something that marriages can recover from? Am I overreacting by considering this emotional cheating? How do I rebuild trust with someone who is living a completely fabricated life behind my back? Let's move on to our final story, and this one is going to leave you questioning everything you think you know about relationships. Posted in True Off My Chest. I've been in love with my best friend for 8 years, and I just found out that the feeling has been mutual this entire time. And this is probably going to sound like something out of a romantic comedy, but I swear this is my actual life, and I still can't believe what happened. I need to tell someone because I feel like I'm going to explode if I keep this to myself any longer. My best friend Alex and I have known each other since college. We met during freshman orientation 8 years ago and instantly clicked. We had the same sense of humour, similar interests, and just got along effortlessly from day one. We became inseparable pretty quickly, spending almost every day together, staying up all night talking, going on random adventures around campus. The thing is, I developed feelings for Alex pretty early on, probably within the first few months of our friendship. But Alex started dating someone else, this girl named Rebecca, right around the same time I realised I was falling hard. I figured I'd missed my chance, so I buried those feelings and focused on being the best friend I could be. Over the years, Alex and I have both been in and out of various relationships, but we've always remained incredibly close. We talk every day, we're each other's plus ones to weddings and events when we're single. We know everything about each other's families, dreams, fears, embarrassing secrets. People constantly ask if we're dating, and we always laugh it off and say we're just friends. But here's the thing, I've never admitted to anyone. I never stopped being in love with Alex. Through every relationship either of us had, through every breakup, every celebration, every late night conversation, I've been completely head over heels in love with my best friend. I've gotten good at hiding it, at being supportive when Alex dates other people, at pretending that my heart doesn't skip a beat every time we accidentally brush hands or fall asleep watching movies together. I've dated other people, some seriously, and I've genuinely cared about them. But there's always been this part of my heart that belonged to Alex, and I've just accepted that it always would. I figured it was my burden to carry, that Alex saw me as purely platonic, and that I needed to find a way to be okay with loving someone who would never love me back. 3 months ago, Alex went through a pretty bad breakup with someone they'd been dating for about 1.5 years. I was there for every tear, every angry vent session, every moment of self-doubt. We spent weeks hanging out constantly while Alex processed the end of the relationship, and I was happy to be needed, even if it was just as a friend. During this time, I noticed that Alex seemed different around me, more affectionate, more attentive, more likely to make intense eye contact during conversations. There were moments where it felt like something was on the tip of Alex's tongue, like there was something important they wanted to say but couldn't quite get out. 2 weeks ago, we were hanging out at Alex's apartment, just watching Netflix and eating takeout like we've done 1,000 times before. Alex seemed unusually quiet and kept looking at me in this way that made me nervous. Finally, I asked what was wrong. if everything was okay. Alex took a deep breath and said there was something important to talk about, something that had been weighing on them for a long time. My heart started racing because I was terrified they were going to say they needed space from our friendship, or that they'd met someone new. Instead, Alex said they needed to be honest about something, even if it ruined everything between us. They said that they'd been in love with me since sophomore year of college, that every relationship they'd ever been in was just them trying to get over me, and that they couldn't pretend anymore. I literally thought I was hallucinating. I made Alex repeat it 3 times because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. When it finally sank in that this was real, that Alex was actually confessing feelings for me, I started crying. Not sad crying, but overwhelmed, relieved, disbelieving crying. I told Alex that I'd been in love with them for 8 years, that I'd spent nearly a decade thinking I was alone in these feelings, that every day of our friendship had been simultaneously the best and most torturous experience of my life, because I got to be close to them, but could never have what I really wanted. We both just sat there crying and laughing and staring at each other like we couldn't believe this was actually happening. Alex said they'd been dropping hints for years, trying to gauge my interest, but every time they thought I might feel the same way, I'd start dating someone else or make some comment about how great our friendship was. I told them I'd been doing the exact same thing, interpreting their kindness as purely platonic because I was so convinced they could never see me romantically. We realised we'd both been protecting ourselves from potential rejection by never taking the risk of being vulnerable. The most incredible part was going back through our history with this new information. Alex told me about specific moments when they almost confessed, times when they were sure I felt something too, but talked themselves out of saying anything. I told them about all the nights I'd gone home after hanging out and cried because I wanted so badly to tell them how I felt, but was terrified of losing them. We talked until sunrise, sharing 8 years' worth of hidden feelings, secret moments, and missed opportunities. It was the most emotionally intense conversation of my entire life. By the time the sun came up, we both knew that this was it, that we were going to try being together for real. Our first kiss happened at 6:30 in the morning in Alex's kitchen while we were making coffee. It was soft and tentative and perfect, and it felt like coming home and going on an adventure at the same time. We spent the rest of that day just talking and kissing and marvelling at how different everything felt now, that we could finally be honest. It's been 2 weeks since that night, and I feel like I'm living in a dream. We decided to take things slow since we're transitioning from friendship to romance. But honestly, it doesn't feel like a transition at all. It feels like we're finally allowed to be what we've always been underneath all the pretending. The crazy part is how natural it all feels. We already know each other better than most couples who've been together for years. We already have inside jokes, shared memories, complete comfort with each other. The only thing that's new is being able to express our feelings openly and physically. Our friends are absolutely losing their minds. Apparently, everyone has been waiting for this to happen for years. My sister said she's been placing bets with her friends about when Alex and I would finally get together. Alex's mum cried when we told her because she said she'd been hoping for this since she met me. The funniest part is that nothing about our dynamic has really changed. We still have the same conversations, the same sense of humour, the same easy compatibility. The only difference is that now when Alex looks at me with those soft eyes, I know what it means. Now when we fall asleep watching movies together, we don't have to pretend it's an accident. Now when people ask if we're dating, we get to smile and say yes. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for this to feel weird or complicated, but it just doesn't. It feels like the most natural thing in the world. It feels like we wasted 8 years being scared of something that was always meant to happen. I'm scared to jinx it by being too happy, but I can't help it. I'm with my best friend and the love of my life, and they're the same person. I get to wake up every day and choose the person I've been in love with for 8 years. It feels too good to be true, but it's my actual life now. I just wanted to share this somewhere because I'm so incredibly happy and grateful, and still a little bit in disbelief that this is real. Sometimes the best things really are worth waiting for, even when you don't know you're waiting. And that's where that story ends. After all the manipulation, deception, and relationship chaos we've been through today, it's actually really beautiful to end on something that's pure and hopeful. Two people who loved each other for 8 years, but were too scared to risk their friendship, only to discover they'd been wasting all that time being afraid of something that was always meant to happen. That's all the Reddit relationship drama I can handle for one day. These stories really run the full spectrum of human relationships, from the absolutely toxic to the surprisingly wholesome. If you made it through all of these stories with me, you're probably as emotionally drained as I am right now. Thanks for hanging out with me through all of that relationship chaos. We went from cat allergies and sign language surprises to Instagram deceptions and 8-year love stories. The internet really is a wild place when it comes to human relationships. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about relationships. I'll be back tomorrow with more Reddit stories.